Hey everyone, this is Ethan. Today we are talking about the Raiders, and the Raiders are awesome. Of course, they don't have a first round pick this year. They traded the Patriots for Richard Seymour. Not sure who won that trade, by the way. That's actually, and I'm honestly saying that because Seymour has been so good for Oakland for the past couple of years, but it's still a mid first round pick, and it's just an interesting deal that went down there. So I'm not exactly sure who won, but Oakland has some possibilities here with their draft still, and I think that they could get some valuable guys in this class. Now, of course, Al Davis, very well known. The story of him taking a coach down to field level, having Cliff Branch run by him, James Jett run by him, saying, "Can you feel that? Can you feel the wind coming off his back?" Height, weight, and speed, triangle numbers, are really important for Al Davis. However, the most important thing is speed. There is no doubt about that. That is his number one calling card. And we saw that this year. I mean, Jacoby Ford is not an exceptionally tall guy, and he isn't exceptionally heavy, but he can fly. And in some ways, that works. I mean, he has compiled quite an athletic team in Oakland over the years. Whether or not they've always been good, that basically shows you what a miss number one pick can do. Because imagine if they had taken Joe Thomas instead of Jamarcus Russell, first overall. And then maybe the next year that they hadn't been quite as good, but in 2008 they could have gotten like a Matt Ryan up there instead of a Russell and McFadden. Even though McFadden has come around, you can get running backs later in the draft, and that was also an exceptionally deep running back class. So let's say that they get Matt Ryan and I don't know, Maurice Jones-Drew in the second round because he could be a player who would be high on their board because of his speed and his overall athletic ability. I mean, that team would be amazing. And that really just shows you how valuable a top 5 pick is. If you screw up a top 5 pick, you're in big trouble. And that's what happened with Jamarcus Russell. He never put it all together, never combined the work ethic necessary with his athletic ability to become a great player. And I mean, that happens. But now Oakland is really working back from it. They have a quarterback in Jason Campbell. However, I have heard some murmurs that they may still take a project quarterback behind him just to have in case. And it's actually a little bit too bad that they have Campbell, who has been pretty good. Well, he was decent the past year at Oakland, because Colin Kaepernick is really a prototype Raiders prospect. He is 6'5", can throw a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, and ran like a 4.6 40. That is a Raiders quarterback to the T. And he's also a great guy. I mean, I think that Colin Kaepernick may have some of the highest character in the draft. Every time I've seen a story about him, or I've seen him on the field, or I've heard about him in any context, he has always been referred to as top of the line class. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to take him, unfortunately, but these are the Raiders. Crazy things can happen. And it's just a shame that they actually have Campbell under contract because Kaepernick would be, and Kaepernick's going to have inflated value as well. If his value doesn't get inflated, he would be a great pickup in, say, the third or fourth round. But his value probably will get inflated, and he'll end up being like an early second round pick, and that's a little bit too high for Oakland. If they don't take a quarterback early, which I don't think they will, Josh Portis late would make a lot of sense. Athletic specimen who had some issues, but he resurfaced in Indiana and Pennsylvania, and he's a pretty good player. Good developmental guy to just have on the roster, and he might be a nice pick up for them later in the draft. Another school to keep an eye on with this team is the Yukon Huskies. Of course, they went down there to pick up Tyvon Branch in the past. They moved him from cornerback to safety, and he's been pretty good behind there in Oakland. But UConn has a very interesting class of athletes coming up that happen to fit a lot of what Oakland's looking for right now. For example, Oakland needs a guard really badly. They could use an athletic guy who can pull. And Zach Hurd is an athletic guy who can pull really, really, really well. And he fits what they want to do really, really well. He is big at 6'7". He is athletic. He is probably the best or second best pulling guard in the draft. And he would be a really ideal pick, but it doesn't end there. Lawrence Wilson's an athletic freak at outside linebacker. He has great sideline to sideline speed, and he was one of the top defense players in the entire country last year. Big East for sure. Entire country a little bit more arguable, but I saw him play a lot. He impressed the heck out of me. I would have him as better than his mate Scott Luchers, who actually tested better at the combine. But he plays with great intensity. He actually played half the season with a club on his right arm or left arm. One of his arms, there was a club. So I think that we could see some Huskies go to Oakland for sure. I believe that they did have people at the pro day. So that would be something interesting to keep an eye on. Those athletic freaks going there from Stores to Oakland. And there are some other linebackers make a lot of sense too. One guy whose name's going to get bandied around a lot is Dante Moak because of that speed, because of that explosiveness. And he's like a stereotypical Raiders pick. And I could see them going gaga for him. He reminds me a lot of Thomas Howard, who was an outside linebacker for the Raiders. And he's an outside linebacker who ran a great 40 time, has great range, but really was a bit raw at the position for a long time. And Moak is sort of a carbon copy of him in my mind, especially if he plays in the linebacker position. So Moak might have a bit more pass rushing ability. But he would be a really interesting fit in Oakland. He would, with the pass propensities that Oakland has shown, he would make a ton of sense for that team in the mid-second round. However, I could also see a team jumping Oakland to get him. A team like Philadelphia, which I've already said loves project linebackers, and they would totally be willing to jump Oakland to get Moak because he could make an instant impact there. And then also KJ Wright is another linebacker who I've sort of been playing around with, looking at the Raiders. He's a bit bigger than faster, but he's a really, really athletic player, and he has a heck of a lot of upside as well. So I think he can make a lot of sense. So this video is a little bit short right now. I don't have too much else I want to say other than the fact that the Raiders could trade up. It wouldn't surprise me if they see a triangle player that they like to go up and get him. And it doesn't need to be on the radar. I mean, Mike Mitchell he wasn't on the radar. But let's give the Raiders a little bit more credit than some people give them credit for. I mean, Mike Mitchell, safety out of Ohio. First of all, the guy hits like a mock truck, which is pretty impressive. I saw some really hard hits this year from him. And second of all, apparently the Bears were going to take him if the Raiders didn't. And his value had just skyrocketed because of his sensational pro day and some of the skills that he had put together. So I think overall they are definitely a really interesting team. This video is going to go a bit short, but that's fine because I don't have too much else I want to say about the Raiders. And I will get to you tomorrow with the Bears and hopefully Dolphins video as well. Bye.